For most sprinters, decline is permanent. Mark Cavendish didn't just decline, he disappeared. 1 year blurred into the next, and every race felt heavier than the last. The man once known as the fastest finisher in the world could barely hold a wheel. His power faded, his confidence fractured. The peloton he once commanded now moved past him without hesitation. 3 years without a single victory. 3 years defined not by defeat, but by absence. Illness, crashes, depression, lost contracts, each one chipping away at the legend who had once made victory look inevitable. By 2020, the sport had quietly made its decision. Cavendish was finished, and for a moment, he believed it too. But then came a summer afternoon in France, 2021. A flat stage, a frantic sprint, and a name nobody expected to hear. Mark Cavendish, after more than 1,000 days without a win, crossed the line first. He didn't raise his arms immediately. He simply kept his head down as if trying to understand what he had just done. Because this wasn't form returning. This was something closer to resurrection. Moments like this remind us why stories matter. They show the distance between who we were and who we can become. And if you connect with stories like these, help us by liking, sharing, and subscribe to the channel. It helps us keep exploring the limits of human potential. But truth rarely fits into a single finish line. To understand this victory, we have to go back to where the story began. Mark Cavendish grew up on the Isle of Man, a place where roads are narrow, winds are constant, and nothing comes easily. It's a landscape that rewards stubbornness. Maybe that's why he thrived there. Long before he became a sprinter, he learned how to push through discomfort simply because there wasn't another option. His first racing wasn't on a road bike, it was on BMX tracks. Short bursts, sudden decisions, explosive power. These early movements shaped the foundations of the rider he would become.
Scottish Provident 96. Como está, Mark? Bem, como você foi hoje?
While other kids focused on endurance, Cavendish learned how to generate speed instantly, how to read bodies in motion, how to trust instinct. Later, those instincts would become his greatest weapon. When he shifted to road racing, he didn't look like a future world beater. He was compact, muscular, heavier than the typical academy recruit, but what he lacked in ideal physique, he compensated for with acceleration you couldn't teach. When sprints formed, Cavendish didn't hesitate. He moved toward chaos instead of away from it. Joining the British Cycling Academy sharpened his edges. The program valued data, control, and predictability, but Cavendish didn't fit into charts easily. Coaches saw numbers, but races told another story. Whenever the finish line was close and the road was flat, he found a way to get there first. He left the island with a simple truth. Speed wasn't something you earned through perfect conditions. It was something you forced into existence. And soon, the world would feel just how sharply he could impose it. When Mark Cavendish entered the professional ranks, he didn't just win, he overwhelmed. His years with HTC High Road became the blueprint for modern sprinting. A perfectly drilled lead-out train, a rider with unmatched timing, and a finish that felt inevitable. Cavendish didn't surge to the line. He detonated, no hesitation, no wasted motion. His acceleration was so abrupt that cameras often struggled to track him. His dominance came quickly. Tour de France, stage wins in clusters, season after season. Milan-San Remo in 2009, a monument few sprinters ever claim. A world championship in 2011, earned not through chaos, but through precision. At his peak, Cavendish was not simply the best sprinter in the world. He redefined what a sprinter could be. He made victory look scientific, but the numbers told the story just as clearly. More than 20 tour stage wins before turning 30, dozens of victories each season. Rivals didn't hope to beat him, they hoped to avoid him. Sprints became exercises in anticipation. If Cavendish was there with 200 meters left, the race was effectively over. What made him different wasn't just speed, it was how he understood the dynamics of a sprint, the micro-adjustments, the slipstream timing, the willingness to hold a wheel others would abandon. Cavendish processed chaos at a pace few could match. For a moment, it looked like this rise would never slow. But sprinting is a discipline built on fragile physics, and the body that once delivered inevitability was about to face forces it couldn't overpower. The turn didn't happen instantly. It arrived quietly, disguised as fatigue. In 2017, Cavendish began feeling a heaviness he couldn't explain, legs that wouldn't snap, efforts that didn't respond. Testing revealed the truth: Epstein-Barr virus, a chronic illness that attacks the immune system and drains the body from the inside out. Cavendish tried to race through it. Sprinters are trained to push past discomfort, but this wasn't fatigue. It was a fundamental breakdown. His power numbers plummeted. Training became unpredictable. Recovery stopped working. He lost the explosiveness that had defined his career. Then came the crashes. One in the 2017 Tour fractured his shoulder. Another left lasting nerve issues. Each setback compounded the next. Instead of fighting for wins, he fought to finish races. Instead of leading sprints, he struggled to stay connected to the peloton. And the sport noticed. Teams re-evaluated. Media questioned his future. Rivals who once feared him now passed him without hesitation. The man who had shaped modern sprinting suddenly found himself clinging to race groups he used to dominate. Results dried up, confidence drained with them. By 2018 and then 2019, the decline accelerated. No victories, no glimpses of the old power. Cavendish's sprint, the most feared weapon in cycling, had vanished, and the industry around him moved on with startling speed. For a rider who built his identity on finishing first, this was something deeper than struggle. It was erasure, and the worst chapter was still ahead. By 2020, Cavendish was no longer fighting for podiums. He was fighting for relevance. The virus had stripped his physiology. The crashes had damaged his rhythm. But the hardest toll was psychological. Cycling wasn't just his career, it was the structure that shaped his entire adult life. Losing it felt like losing himself. Gent-Wevelgem that autumn became the moment everything surfaced. After finishing far behind the leaders, Cavendish spoke to the press with a clarity that stunned the sport. His eyes were hollow, his voice unguarded.
Okay, Mark Cavendish, I can see it, and it was a really hard day for you. I see you're getting emotional. How was your day?
I had the last race of my career now.
Do you really think this is your last race?
He admitted quietly. It wasn't theatrics, it was resignation. For 3 years he hadn't won a race. For 3 years he had pushed against a wall that refused to move. And every contract negotiation reflected the same truth. Teams no longer saw value in him. His career, once defined by inevitability, was now defined by absence. Professionals rarely admit despair publicly, but Cavendish's honesty exposed the depth of the struggle, the depression diagnosis, the months spent searching for answers, the difficulty of getting out of bed when the thing you love has stopped loving you back. As his contract expired at Bahrain McLaren, he had no offers. None. Not from World Tour teams, not from pro teams. The fastest sprinter of his era was now without a place in the sport. It felt final. It felt irreversible. But endings, in sport and in life, are not always what they seem. When Cavendish reached the lowest point of his career, the phone rang. On the other end was Patrick Lefevere, manager of Disunink Quickstep, the strongest sprint team in the world. The offer wasn't glamorous, no promises, no guarantees, no special status, just a 1-year contract, low salary, and a simple question: do you still want this? Cavendish didn't hesitate. He returned to a team where he once thrived, but the context had changed. He wasn't the star anymore. He wasn't even the second option. He arrived as a rider meant to help others win. But something about the environment lifted him. The structure, the belief, the freedom to rebuild quietly. He trained with precision again. He worked on positioning, timing, patience, the foundations of sprinting he had always understood better than anyone. Slowly, the spark returned. His teammates noticed, his coach noticed, Cavendish himself noticed. Sometimes all a person needs is someone who sees a possibility when the world sees an ending. Stories like this remind us why we follow sport. Not just for the victories, but for the returns. And if these human moments resonate with you, feel free to join us. It helps us keep exploring what people can do when everything seems lost. What Cavendish didn't know was that his opportunity was about to grow dramatically. His comeback would not be quiet. It would arrive in the most unthinkable way. A sudden vacancy at the biggest race in the world. Sam Bennett, Quick-Step's lead sprinter, withdrew from the 2021 Tour de France due to injury. Lefebvre needed a replacement, a rider who could survive the chaos, finish stages, support the team. The safe choice would have been a young, developing sprinter. Instead, he chose Mark Cavendish. Nobody expected a victory. Cavendish hadn't won a race in over 1,000 days. Analysts predicted survival, not success. But when Stage 4 reached its final kilometers, the atmosphere changed. Quick-Step formed their familiar blue train. Cavendish sat fourth wheel, perfectly sheltered. And when the final corner approached, instinct took over. He launched, not with the raw explosiveness of his youth, but with a clarity and timing that no sprinter could match. He surged past opponents and crossed the line first, arms outstretched, disbelief written across his face. Broadcasters called it the greatest comeback in years. Riders congratulated him like a returning champion. The cycling world, stunned, watched a legend reborn. But Cavendish wasn't finished. Stage 6, Stage 10, Stage 13. One victory became 2, then 3, then 4. Each sprint carried deeper meaning. Each win chipped away at the narrative that had buried him. Suddenly, the Tour de France, once a symbol of his decline, became the stage for one of the most improbable rebirths in modern sport. The comeback was real, undeniable, and accelerating. And with each victory, one question grew louder. Could he reach the record that had stood untouched for almost 50 years? Eddy Merckx' record of 34 Tour de France stage wins was more than a statistic. It was mythology. A benchmark so untouchable that generations of riders never approached it. Even Cavendish, at his peak, never expected to come this close. But as his 2021 Tour unfolded, history began to shift. Stage by stage, he moved into rare territory. His fourth win of the race brought him to 34 career victories, tying Merckx' long-standing record. The cycling world froze. Journalists rewrote headlines. Commentators tried to explain what they were witnessing. A rider who had been written off as finished was now level with the greatest cyclist of all time. The moment wasn't just about numbers, it was about the journey. From illness to invisibility, from depression to rebirth. The contrast made the achievement feel larger than cycling itself. Cavendish stood on the podium not as a revived sprinter, but as a symbol of resilience, of what remains possible long after the world closes the door. But the record was only tied, and no one knew if he would ever get another chance to break it. Team decisions, selections, injuries, race dynamics, all of it threatened to freeze history at 34. For most athletes, tying Merckx would be the final chapter. But Cavendish's story had been shaped by unexpected returns, and somewhere ahead, late in a career defined by survival, one final opportunity waited on the horizon. Tying Merckx was historic. Breaking the record felt impossible. After 2021, Cavendish waited for a return to the Tour, but the sport moved unpredictably. Team selections favored younger sprinters. Opportunities closed as quickly as they appeared. In 2022, he wasn't selected. In 2023, he planned one final season, a farewell, only to crash heavily in the Giro d'Italia. A fractured collarbone forced him out. Many assumed that was the full stop at the end of the story, but survivors rarely follow the script. Cavendish reversed his retirement and signed with Astana, a team not traditionally built for sprint dominance. The decision confused some and inspired others. It carried a simple message. The story wasn't finished. Not yet. And when the 2024 Tour de France began, Cavendish started without fanfare, without the world believing a 39-year-old sprinter could challenge the sport's best. Then came Stage 6, a long flat run into Dijon. Perfect weather, a fast peloton. In the final kilometer, Cavendish held position with clarity born of experience. He waited, watched the chaos unfold, and chose the exact moment to strike. The acceleration wasn't youthful, It was wise, efficient, timed with surgical precision. He crossed the line first. 35 Tour de France stage wins, the most in history, a record untouched for decades, now belonging to a rider who once stood on the edge of retirement with nothing left to offer. On that day, Cavendish didn't just win a sprint. He closed one of the greatest arcs in modern sport. Mark Cavendish's legacy isn't defined by numbers, even though the numbers are staggering. It isn't defined by technique, even though his sprinting instincts changed the sport. His legacy lives in the space between collapse and recovery, in the years when winning felt impossible. And yet he kept searching for a way back. He proved that greatness isn't a straight line. It bends, breaks, and sometimes disappears entirely. What matters is what remains underneath. During his darkest seasons, Cavendish lost results, confidence, health, and direction. But he never lost the ability to try. That quiet resilience, hidden beneath the noise of expectation, carried him farther than raw talent ever could. He also changed how cycling understands age. Sprinters traditionally fade in their early 30s. Cavendish won the most important race of his life at 39. It wasn't a refusal to age. It was proof that discipline, experience, and belief can rewrite biological assumptions. Most of all, his comeback widens the definition of human potential. The world measures success in victories, but often overlooks the years required to find them again. Cavendish's return wasn't guaranteed. It wasn't likely. It wasn't even logical. But it happened because he refused to let the end define him. For those who've been written off, for those standing at the edge of a chapter they didn't choose, his story offers something rare, the reminder that an ending can be challenged and sometimes overturned. That's the heart of human feats, and the reason stories like his deserve to be told.